It is indeed that time of the week to do a little trading on the college football stock market, and there was certainly a lot of activity this weekend, certainly with Alabama doing their thing on homecoming, but a few, especially Ed Orgeron improving his stock last week with that dramatic come-from-behind victory or epic collapse, whatever route you want to take for Gus Malzahn. And so we'll get into the third Saturday in October later on in this segment, but I got to get first off to Ed Orgeron, Martin, and simply buy or sell. Ed Orgeron with the victory over Auburn is off the hot seat.
Only reason he's off the hot seat was Joe Oliva, the AD, didn't have him on the hot seat because it would be a reflection on him and show how lazy a job he did as an AD and going out and looking for a coach. Orgeron's job security rests more in his AD's ego than it does in his performance. Am I convinced and sold that this LSU team is a good football team and a better football team than it was this time last year? Absolutely not. Les Miles, this team would be better if Les Miles was the coach. Would have probably won just as many games last year, and in my opinion would be better off this year than they are with their current coaching status. So I would sell Orgeron, but as far as the hot seat goes, I don't think he's on the hot seat.
There's been certainly, on the flip side, some discontent, to put it mildly, for the Auburn fan base when it comes to their loss to LSU. So buy or sell, Gus Malzahn is back on the hot seat.
Gus Malzahn is back on the hot seat, but I've had two Auburn fans that I talked to about this say the exact same thing. I don't care if they fire him if they take Jacobs with them, and Jay Jacobs being the AD. But once again, if you look at the condition of the SEC rests solely up on these ADs and their pursuit to try to out-Bama or James try to find the next Nick Saban instead of letting the coaches they had. I think they got rid of Chizik too early at Auburn. He had a bad year, and it was ugly. But everybody forgets Chizik tried to transition from Gus Malzahn offense to pro-style offense in 1 year. And he didn't have the players to do that. And then they thought that Gus Malzahn was this savior, and Gus Malzahn was really a guy who had a one-trick pony, a pretty good trick pony in Cam Newton. And so Gus Malzahn, in terms of buy-sell, I'm buying that Gus Malzahn is on the hot seat. The problem or the challenge is Jay Jacobs went in so hot and heavy on Malzahn that it would be an indictment on him as the AD if he comes out and does something with Gus Malzahn. So much like Orgeron is safer because of the reflection it would be on the AD, they're going to be hard-pressed at Auburn to get rid of Gus Malzahn in terms of just because the AD's in bed with him. And I think you can look at at least three ADs that's in the same boat. The AD at Arkansas, the way it is because of their $15 million buyout. And then you have Gus Malzahn and his connection with Jacobs because Jacobs handpicked Malzahn. That wasn't even a search, James. He went out and got Malzahn because he was going to be the savior of the program, and they had fool's gold, okay, in that first year. That was fool's gold when they made it to the championship game because they had 2 or 3 things that happened that were just almost miracles, and they're still chasing those miracles. And then the only time Malzahn was really good was when he had Cam Newton. I could freaking be an offensive genius with Cam Newton. I mean, come on. I mean, I'd be an offensive genius if I had him. Okay? So I'm buying. Gus Malzahn is definitely back on the hot seat.
So let's look at the most endangered species when it comes to SEC coaching, and that's Butch Jones, of course. He has the hottest seat in the Southeastern Conference right now. And let's just face it, buy or sell, Butch Jones is coaching for his job on Saturday in Tuscaloosa?
You know what? This is going to be a shocking answer. I'm selling because I think Butch Jones' job is already gone. I mean, if they were to come in and upset Alabama, if they were to pull the upset of the century, because that would be Tennessee beating Alabama would be the biggest upset in college football, at least in the 2000s, in the 21st century, right? Would you agree with that? So if he were to do that, what does it mean? See, I don't buy into this. You beat Alabama, that means you're now a program ready to compete. They still have the same stupid issues, the same horrible guys don't tackle, they don't play aggressive, there's not good play calling. It's just not a good program. The program is in a decline, okay? Last year was their chance, and they lost out. They've lost, 7 out of their last 9 SEC games or something like that? If they beat Alabama, so what? They would have lost 7, out of 10. It's not going to change anything. So if he can save his job by beating Alabama, they have some poor leadership at Tennessee than I think. I think Butch Jones is gone for the exact reason that the other guys are safe. If I'm an athletic director at a football school and the program is in mediocrity, James, I am not leaving a coach in place that, first of all, I didn't hire. Second, I'm not just because I didn't hire him. If I were to get the AD job at Alabama like Greg Burns, I'm not firing the coach because I didn't hire him. But if a coach is underperforming and the program is going in the wrong direction and they appear from the outside looking in to have lost control of their program and the effort, then I'm not going to hitch my wagon to that guy. And so I just think that the new AD at Tennessee has gotten the ammunition he needs to get out of this contract with Butch Jones. So I think he's just coaching until they find out, can he salvage the season and not lose a bunch of recruits, and then we make a move at the end, or will this Alabama game or some game be the linchpin that makes them go ahead and pull the trigger?
Final buy or sell, because not only has it been 10 years since Nick Saban arrived in Tuscaloosa, it's been 10 years, Martin, since Tennessee last went to an SEC championship game. And since then, it hasn't been exactly smooth sailing up in Knoxville. So buy or sell, Tennessee football in 2017 is in worse condition than Alabama football was in 2006.
I would say much worse because the one thing, as bad as it was for Alabama, in 99, we won a championship. In 2005 or 6, we had a 10-win season. There were some things that showed that Alabama had. And James, if you think about it, if it wasn't for an LSU who won a national championship and was a really good program, who was beating Alabama? Auburn and LSU. Okay. That's why we couldn't get there. And, of course, we did have the stupid losses to Mississippi State, but kudos to Sylvester Croom for pulling those off. But I think Tennessee was in much worse condition because here's the thing. Why was Alabama where they were at? Probation. Alabama was coming off of probation, dealing with probation, and a first-time college coach who did show some sparks. What has Butch Jones showed you that he could do? Where? They talked about, they won 9 games 3 years in a row. Who cares if your 9 games include 3 Cinderella schools in Vanderbilt and Kentucky? That's 5 of your wins. Last year they were 9 and they won 9 games, James, but nobody said this. They won 9 games again last year, but they lost more SEC games last year. Okay? Their record went backwards in the SEC. And if you're just counting wins, you can get wins with scheduling. You can get bowl eligible with your scheduling. Yes, I'm buying. Tennessee is in much worse shape in one sense because of the guy they have leading. Do I think a different coach can come in and get that program back competitive really quick in the East? Absolutely. I think that can happen with the right coach in place, and I think we're going to get an opportunity to see if that's the case. So, and Robert Saucier said 02 and 05 were both 10-win seasons on top of the 99. So in that 7-year window where we were bad, we did have some good teams that got to double-digit wins, and I think that's what makes Alabama a great program. Even in what we consider bad, James, most programs would buy. What we're trying to sell, most programs would buy.